Hello, Jimmy from Hairy Campers. Told you to be back. We are now at Longreach, and the reason for us being here today will become apparent in a second. But the first thing I wanted to tell you about was the runway behind me. This was widened and lengthened by the Americans and in the 40s when the war escalated in the Pacific, so they could land fortresses here, flying fortresses. Part of the war effort, part of the Pacific War effort, and they operated out of here for a fairly long time until the end of the war in 1945. But that's not what I brought you here for today. Maybe 3 weeks ago we done a shoot down at the Rath mines at the Catalina base, and I tried to explain to you what a Catalina was and what their importance were and how secretive they were in what they did. So today I thought that I'd bring you here and show you a real PBY Catalina. A beautiful bit of gear, flying boat. This one's amphibious, it has wheels on it. So it's a great bit of gear. As you can see, engines are still intact. I have a little bit of admission to make. It's not an Australian one, but there's not too many around. This one, I believe, came from Spain. It was a Spanish water bomber. But a Catalina is a Catalina, and that's what this is, a PBY Catalina. So as you can see, it's still got Pratt & Whitney 14-cylinder engines. It's still got its wingspan. I'll walk you around it and show you a little bit inside of it, but if we walk down here, because this is amphibious and the wheels are down, because the wheels or the landing gear is down, the floats are up in the wings, which are those bubble looking things at the other end. We'll walk over towards the edge of the wing. Now these things were built like bulldozers. They were very, very strong. They could take a fair hit, but they were black. This one's all grey. If we just walk here and look up here, these are the stabilisers for when they land on the water. So that'll actually fold down and sit underneath. So when that part of the aircraft, which is the boat part of the aircraft, which is the fuselage there, when the wheels are up, that's the only way that those floats will come down. When those wheels are up, it lands like a boat. So that's why they were calling they called them a flying boat. This one's in really, really good condition for what it is. I don't know its year build. It could have been built anywhere from 1940 to 1960. I don't know, but it's at least it's some kind of an idea of what we spoke about when we spoke about RAAF Black Cats. This is what we're looking at. We'll wander down to the aircraft and we'll get a shot inside just to show you there was no flash lining on the fuselage. It was all just open fuselage. I'll try and give you a bit of an idea of what they did. As I said, this one was a water bomber. But we'll get the camera. I'll get Mr. Wilson to jump up in, like take the camera up into there, and if you can see all the ribs, these two windows up the top up here. That's so the pilot could see what was going on with the engine. So if the engine developed an oil leak or they had a problem with an engine, he could look up there and look at it. The engine, that would have been the pilot, the navigator, or the engineer. There was 9 on this aircraft. The radio operator was here. But as you can see, it was, I suppose, by today's standards, pretty primitive. These blokes would disappear off the face of the earth for days and then turn up again. As I said before, they would take off from Port Moresby. They could take off from Port Moresby, they could take off from Darwin, and they could disappear 1,000 mile out to sea. They'd land, up pop a submarine, they would load them with mines, and then they would fly back into enemy territory 200 feet off the water. They would fly and they would drop their mines as they're going 200 feet off the water, and at a very slow speed. All right, Mr. Wilson's pointing here, this is what they called the blister. Now this blister here, I believe this part here, and I'm not really sure, I'd have to go back to some of my literature on it, but this part here is where the machine guns were. So you had 50 caliber machine guns here and 50 caliber machine guns on the other side. As you can see, the tail, because they flew pretty well, and the reason they used to fly so well is because you could trim the horizontal stabilizer, and you could also trim the rudder, so you could fly at 200 feet without too much trouble at all. I'll get a shot at the back of it, and then we're going to go and put our head up through the back hatch and have a look in there. It looks like there's been a bit of a repair up there. They haven't painted it properly yet, but you can see it's a fairly big aircraft, and these were that secretive, not very many people knew what they were doing. Bring Mr. Wilson up here. And I might take the camera because I'm a little bit taller, and fire a bit of a shot down there and give you a bit of an idea of what it looked like inside. So that's what they look like inside. And you had I'll give that back to Mr. Wilson. You had 9 people living in there. They had a portable toilet in there, they had galley, they had everything. They could be gone for 36 hours. Right, I'm moving along to probably, this is the other side where the blister was, the other, where the other machine gun was. The other machine gun would have come out here, or somewhere in there the machine gun was. So that's about it. All right, hope you've enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like if you like it. Hit the subscribe button.